Hi guys, I am Vitold and I'm always enjoying making this kind of videos, listing what's the greatest about certain motorcycles. But now I'm super happy because it's about a KTM that I've been looking for a long time to ride. A 1290 Super Adventure here in the R variant. There are some differences between this one and the S variant, like the larger front rim here with 21 inches instead of 19, and in the rear with 18 inches instead of 17 inches. There's also a taller suspension here along with a taller seat being at 88 instead of 85 centimeters, and the suspension is manually adjustable, while in the S version there is electronic adjustment. Other things are much smaller and don't impact the riding experience as much, and it's, for example, a front radar and a taller windshield in the S version, and that's mostly it. And mostly is there are some other things like different colors as well. So let's dig into what can be so great in 1290 Super Adventure that it may convince you to buy it. Because there are points that are so strong that they actually do convince me myself personally. And I've ridden every single motorcycle available today in the big touring adventure category, so I hope that my observations will be useful to you guys. Now please take into account one thing, which is that in this video I am only focusing on what's great about this bike and I'm skipping the smelly parts. If you want to see the full picture, please head to the other video, the harder, the tougher one, the harsher one, in which I list all the flaws that I noticed during my time with this brand new 1290 Super Adventure R. And that list is not short, but there are certain things that make KTM special, and I believe that you may consider it, consider it the best in at least two areas that I'm going to mention now. So starting with the first reason to buy a 2022 and likely on KTM 1290 Super Adventure, regardless of the letter in the end, R or S or D or Z, is their engine. Because man, this thing is sick. And I'm not saying that about every motorcycle that's quick, that has a lot of horsepower or torque. I've ridden them all again to the red line all the way there, and only two of them make my guts twist inside. One of them being this guy here. It got 160 horsepower and 138 Nm of torque, and both numbers are high and impressive, and with torque being higher only in a BMW R1250 GS at 143 Nm, 5 more. And also power is higher in the Ducati Multistrada V4, and if you count it as an adventure motorcycle, BMW S1000 XR. And we're talking 170 and 165 horsepower, so not that much more. But the mix of very high power and very high torque in the KTM gives us a bike that feels absolutely the most capable and exciting within the whole category. And yes, I believe that this is the number one in terms of how quick it can be, in terms of how early it can become quick, and how good of a blend of power and torque it is in the end. And what I mean by that is that you don't have to rev it high to get going very fast, very quickly, but it still gets more and more crazy the higher you get in the range. Starting at 7,000 RPM, sick things are happening. And above that RPM, it's just impossible to describe properly with words, as the pace of acceleration increases even more, and it's like your vision is becoming blurry as your eyes are pushed back because of the G-force. And also, I somehow feel it in my guts, despite making sure that I'm not, riding after a huge lunch or carrying a lot of other stuff inside of myself. It's simply so quick that it makes me excited, genuinely very excited, and actually rises my adrenaline levels significantly. And the only other bike that does that is BMW S1000 XR with a 4-cylinder inline engine, but you've got to rev it, you've got to really rev it high to get there. So it's, in my eyes, a win for a KTM in normal conditions. Maybe on a racetrack the XR would be as much fun, or maybe even more fun, but if you count stopping at traffic lights and then starting off at the lower speeds, KTM feels so much more fun that I fell in love already at this step. And it's just the first point of the list. The second reason for getting yourself a Super Adventure in the R variant, and I want to assume that in the S as well, is that it's absolutely perfectly balanced. This means that you don't have to put any effort at low speeds to make the bike go exactly where you want it to go. And this matters in four, I think, situations the most, at least. When you're setting off, when you're stopping, when you are in slow-moving traffic, or filtering traffic at the same time, and also, well, when you are off-roading, if you are off-roading ever. And I feel that this is a true champion here, despite having a pretty high center of gravity. And if only the bike is moving and the speeds are low, so let's say up to 30, 40 kilometers per hour, the precision is absolutely fantastic. And it allows you to ride completely effortlessly. That's how I would describe it. And if you've ridden BMW R1250 GS or Kawasaki Versys 1000, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I explain it in two examples. First, try to ride in an exactly straight line at speeds below 10 kilometers per hour, and the second, just do a simple U-turn. If the bike sort of does it on its own and you don't really have to be extremely focused, counter steer it a lot, support yourself with your legs or play with the throttle in the middle of the maneuver, then it means that it's really well balanced to me. Other bikes usually cannot hold that straight line at the first example, and it becomes a slalom, at least at those super low speeds, and here it is perfect. Now remember that I'm talking about low speeds because actually once you start riding faster, it is not as great here in the KTM, but that's in a second video for you, not here. So this is one of the best motorcycles to ride in this city, maybe even the best to me personally. As on the R version, you sit high and you see well above most cars, while the handlebar isn't also as wide as BMW R1250 GS has, which I believe is actually equally well balanced. So let's move to the third point, which is not that obvious in times when every manufacturer can so easily copy what others are offering, and they actually do it on a daily basis. But KTM still managed to do something differently, better, and I think that much cooler at the same time. And I'm talking about great technology, as not only there's top equipment like keyless access, cornering, LED front lights, personalized riding modes, all crap like that everybody has, like also electronically adjustable suspension in the S version. Oh, there's also this front useless radar in the S variant, or heated both seats, which are not useless in this case, so maybe it's worth mentioning that. You can also have heated grips and some other regular stuff. But there is a display that's got a pretty unique feature. And one thing is that it's pretty large for a reason. It's 7 inches, and this helps as there's a lot of stuff to show on it. So that's the reason, I guess. The menu is large and there's plenty of things to set, play with, and adjust. But you also have this little switch that can work as a shortcut, and that's freaking great. But since there's so much stuff and some things that might not be obvious, KTM has done one more thing. They have added explanations in the form of animations which explain what happens with the bike when you are changing a given option. And so there is a picture of your motorcycle, of your 1290 Super Adventure, and a pretty clear explanation what you are adjusting in which way at a given moment, in a given setting. This, I think, is absolutely great, and it looks great, and the idea is useful, and the whole implementation just freaking works. Because look, what does it mean if a certain option is at level 1, level 2, or level 7, like one's more or one's less? If you don't read the manual or just get confused at some point and set your traction control in the opposite way than you intended, you may not always like the outcome. Smart guys at KTM know how to help, and I appreciate it. I also like that we may change the angle of the display. If it's possible, then why not? Controls are easy to use, the system is responsive, and it's all a pleasant experience, I think. Probably the best in the whole class, and better, it could be better, I think, maybe even than in BMW, which I wasn't expecting initially. So great job, KTM, and now please also give us maybe the blind spot monitoring system instead of the front radar, which I would never use in a motorcycle. I don't know, would you guys use that? Let the bike control your speed? Slow down? Let me know. Anyway, in the fourth point, I've got to mention a thing without which I believe this list wouldn't be complete and it wouldn't be even fair. So it's about 1290 Super Adventure being different than anything else in the class. So it looks and it feels like it's going in its own way, and it may be the one whom others follow at some points. I mean the image as well. And definitely with that power plant, they literally have to literally follow it, like, you know, in the back. So it may be compared to Africa Twin at some points. It may be compared to BMW R1250 GS, but in the end, none of those feels equally wild, or even similarly wild. There is no motorcycle in this class that feels so fun and crazy, and I'm freaking serious about this. And I'm not trying to shock you guys with those statements, but the way that I feel on this bike just makes me want to have it, in my garage. Bloody hell, it's still a tough choice between this one and some others. And actually the last point on the list will be that cherry on the cake that I believe would convince me myself. But first, number 5, which in part is not that important to me myself, but I know that it may be important to some of you guys. So I believe that if you take this KTM off the road, it can be pretty good. I'm not an off-road expert, but when I was very young, I was only riding cross and so like off-road motorcycles off the road in different places. So on one hand, I wouldn't take such a huge beast off the road in the first place, but if there would be a need, or I would feel like I would like to, I would actually not be scared of handling it there. And I would be scared, of course, to damage it, as it's a lot of money that KTM is asking for this motorcycle, but I would be excited to play around with it. And here's this great precision of steering that comes into play, and that feeling of being light at lower speeds. The other bike that I think I would be okay riding in the light off-road situation would be R1250 GS, by the way, if you're wondering. But both are just too large and physically too heavy when you lean or need to support yourself with your leg to comfortably have fun with. As long as it's good, it's fun, but when you get in trouble, it might not be that much fun. But the point of this point is that it will do this, it will also handle city, and it will manage longer travel at the same time. It's not the best because of high foot pegs, and generally not the R version is the preferable choice with this tiny windshield, but still 1 or 2 hour rides should be fine, I think. So it can do it all, like really, with not just bullshitting marketing slogans that some brands feed us with. The 6th point will be a slightly more controversial one, so I'll start off with saying that yes, there are reliability issues that I heard about. I've seen some issues in this brand new 1290 that I already had for some time, like a leak or oil or whatever that was, also like a bent rim, likely straight from the factory, or like an indicator switch that is either broken by design, or maybe just this one was broken as exception, who knows. More on that in that other video, by the way. But the point is that I believe that a strong point of KTM in this motorcycle industry may be its image. It may be perceived as a more hardcore brand for those tough guys. And some may like to say that they are BMW killers, and for a reason. And with all due respect and sympathy towards some BMW products, including cars on my side, KTM may be just cooler to own, and every KTM motorcycle gets that image included. So please let me know what you guys think about this brand, okay? Because I'm actually very curious how you see it, because I know there are some divisions, especially when it comes to some reliability concerns. BMW and Ducati also may struggle with the same kind of story, in fact, so yeah guys, please tell me how you see it. That's actually a mystery, mostly. And in the 7th point, I'm getting back to the thing that I mentioned before, but now adding a few details and explanations. And to me, this is a real reason to actually purchase a 1290 Super Adventure, and it's that it's great for city riding. This is the secondary that I think it might be the best in. It's not the most obvious thing to say about a big touring enduro that claims to handle off-road really well with a 24 centimeter plus ground clearance in the R version and just over 22 centimeters of ground clearance in the S variant. Now, what makes a bike great in the city when I'm saying that? First of all, it's how it's balanced. As in Europe, we ride between cars a lot, and it's sometimes, or it may be, a whole point of riding a motorcycle for some of us. From the 2nd point, we know that 1290 Superman is great here, as it goes exactly where you want it at lower speeds in terms of balance. This is the key. Another thing for me is that I sit high on it, and so I see far and I can plan my traffic escape route. But obviously, other bikes can have tall seats too, or you may just get yourself a taller seat than the stock one, so that's fine. But here, there's a surprisingly narrow handlebar. And I don't mean that it's just narrow, but it's more narrow than I expected it to be in a bike that's advertised as an off-road beast. I believe that its direct competitors might have those handlebars wider, and at least their handguards stick out to the side so much that it makes getting in between cars not as easy and comfortable, at least mentally wise, once you know that there's something sticking much further. Here I felt absolutely like a king, and I bloody loved this mix. The position on the bike also gives you plenty of control, and it encourages you to squeeze wherever you can. The engine is explosive at any gear and any speed, while not being brutal at the lowest speeds at all, and it's gentle in terms of reaction to throttle, so it doesn't surprise you, and it's a really perfect blend in the end. The last 8th point that to me personally is a reason to choose KTM 1290 Super Adventure over the other top motorcycles in the class, in my eyes, is that KTM's engine is a V2 setup, which I love for their sound. It is a 75-degree setup, not 90, which is not ideal, this 75, in terms of sound, but it's still pretty cool and good enough, and with an aftermarket exhaust, it will beat anything that is not a V2. Sound is very important to me, both in motorcycles and cars, and if I can have a V2 in a bike and a petrol V8 in a car, it will be my preference at all times. And note that the stock exhaust is shit. And it mutes what's great about it, but once you get rid of it and install an aftermarket one that is not a factory Akrapovic that looks the same and pretty much sounds the same because they are always very quiet, then you release the Kraken and can enjoy what's so great about that throaty, deep and violent V2 tone. And this is my summary of what's the best about 2022 and on KTM 1290 Super Adventure, and all the reasons to buy this bike that I have thought of. So please guys, let me know which ones would apply to you, which ones maybe already convinced you if you already have this KTM, and if you don't, then I recommend that you take a look from another perspective and check if certain behaviors and flaws could be deal breakers for you or not. That's in the other video that I linked, or I will link soon in the description. I hope that you liked this one, and see you in the next one.